Hey, good morning, guys. This is Mike from Sapulpa Times. Thanks for tuning in to another special edition of the Timeloop Live on Monday, April 6th. It is the day after Easter. Hope that you guys had a wonderful Easter weekend. Were able to celebrate with your families and just, enjoy the momentous occasion of celebrating the resurrection of our Lord. So it was pretty eventful, both in Easter world and also in the candidate world and the election world. Some really interesting stuff coming out regarding this campaign that's happening, the city council election. It's on the one hand, it's a little bit crazy to think about that this sort of thing is happening in a town like Sapulpa, but it's here, and so we're here to give you the facts as we know them and to just basically make our voters more informed. So if you are just catching up and you haven't been tuned in to the Times over the last few days, then let me give you kind of a recap because we do have an update to the story. So let's focus on that right now. So if you're not fully aware, we published a story over the weekend, and it is based on the show that we did last Friday. And late last week, there was some propaganda type campaign pamphlets that started to get delivered in mailboxes all across Ward 5 in Sapulpa. And it was basically, if you take everything in the context as it was, the implication there was that David Mortazavi, who is our incumbent for Ward 5, that his Iranian heritage and Iranian background, being now an American citizen and a part of America here, but his Iranian background was something to be fearful of, and because of the all the Islamic stuff that's happening in Iran now. And then I had Vice Mayor Carla Gunn here, and we talked about the danger of this kind of rhetoric happening, especially in local city council elections, and just how preposterous the idea was on its face, but also just kind of cautioning people just to be careful when it comes to city council elections about including the stuff that we see in national politics in your thinking when it comes to city council stuff. I mean, we're talking about budgets, infrastructure, things like that. So the national election issues, the things that you're hearing from the White House and stuff, they're not going to have much of a role, if any, here locally. So in terms of city council elections. So along that same note, we reminded everybody that city council is bipartisan. We have Democrats and Republicans, both that serve in a city council. It really makes no difference on how they vote or whether they help people out on their constituents who give them a call. So there's nothing really, being determined by your own political leanings there in your political affiliation. That's not really any kind of determination in there. So there's been a lot of campaign propaganda, I'll say, that's come out over since for this particular set of seats, wards 1, 3, and 5, and a lot of it has been like slanted towards, don't vote for these people because they're Democrats, or vote for these people because they're conservative, or vote for this person because he's a Democrat but he leans conservative. And it's what it amounts to is nothing. I mean, the fact being Republican or conservative, Republican or Democrat, really doesn't have any bearing on a local city council election. It is and has always been bipartisan board. So just recapping that. So we did, people got wind of this. Family members of the Mortazavis got copies of these campaign pamphlets and started, kind of lighting up on social media, trying to find out who it was that sent them out. And basically accusing the other side of being inflammatory and racist and all kinds of other things. So we did give the Gleseners who are being accused of this the chance to respond. We have some of the responses that they shared from social media here. I did talked with them or texted with them over the weekend, and they were going to send me a statement via email to put as part of the show. As of going live, I had not gotten that. So we're just going to have to go with what we've got that's been made available to everybody else. So first of all, if you're not aware, the main 8-page pamphlet that got put out that's talks a lot about the Islamic religion and all of the things that are associated with that. Was signed on the back by Christy Glesener, who is the wife of the candidate of Kent Glesener, and she responded out in this. And so, just to give you a little context here, Zeba Chelsea Denton is the niece of David Mortazavi, the incumbent for Ward 5, and she was obviously upset about this. So she put out a post basically kind of calling out the Glesners or whoever it was that put this out and said, this is completely inappropriate. I can't believe you would do this. So Christy responded here, and I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read part of it here. In response to this fabrication against me, this was never distributed by my husband or myself or anyone who has walked with us, nor have we authored it. And we don't have to because Ken's credentials and then a number of different things trying to defend their character and things like that. So, and then it finishes off with, I'll give you time to repent, make a statement against this, and then remove it. Signed, Christy Glesener. So Zeba did respond there, and she did update the post to say, hey, the Glesener campaign office says that they didn't have anything to do with this. I do take issue with a certain portion of this, and I'll point this out here in just a minute, but uh, she said that we didn't author it, but Christie's name is attached to the back of it. And we're being told by other sources that this 8-page document of the Islamic religion was on their website up until very recently. And so, you have to make that, do with that what you will. Kent Glesener also responded. And he said, I talked with David face to face today, just became aware that I told him I was not involved in this or anyone I know that has helped with the campaign. And resultantly, I posted this today. The flyers that have appeared recently are not part of my city council campaign, and I do not know who distributed these. And I oppose this action. Please ignore this flyer. I was as shocked as anybody about this misinformation about my opponent. It's a fabricated and not true that my campaign had any part in this. So Kent Glesener, the candidate, is vehemently denying that this propaganda came from their office and denying that they had anything to do with it. We are still working on getting photos and video of the people that have been distributing it. Still undetermined as to whether or not they are or were involved with their campaign. So they do have several photos, particularly of the vehicle, and so we may or may not be able to get that information in time for the vote tomorrow. But so anyway, couple of couple of options here, right? I mean, I suppose there is the possibility that it could be a third party that distributed these to the houses that only had David Mortazavi's campaign signs in them, with the idea of just throwing the election into complete chaos. So we always knew from the beginning that this may or may not have come directly from the Glesener's campaign. That's why when we put it in the story, we used words like allegedly and that there were allegations and things like that, because we knew that it hadn't been proven. Maybe some of the photos and stuff that come out will prove that otherwise. But so anyway, glad to see that they responded this way, that they are vehemently denying the propaganda that came out. So, however, if you watch the interview that I did with Kent earlier this last month, I guess, right as we were getting into the final weeks of this election, you might recall that Mr. Glesener had a strong interest in the city's financials, and he was concerned about the amount of debt that we were going into. And basically, he said that his experience as a contractor and in engineering and construction would serve as a good asset. And all of that may very well be true, but we started digging into this more, and his business that he's owned for a long time. Him and Christy have had Paradigm Engineering for quite a bit, quite a long time. I think well over 20 years, I think. we started digging into this and uncovered some concerning news. So that we wanted to share because our thing is we want people to be, especially the voters of this particular award, we want you guys to be informed about the candidates, know who you're voting for. And so I want to share with you guys something that came to our attention. This is um, an document from the U.S. Department of Labor, the Administrative Review Board, and basically to kind of give you an idea of what happened here. So this to be clear, okay, this started several years ago. This is about 10 years ago that this was first litigated. So this isn't really a recent situation, except that it's only recently become, I guess, in a final level of judgment, I suppose I could say, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But basically, there's a document that's out there from the U.S. Department of Labor against Kent and Glesener and Paradigm Construction and Engineering, and what it is accusing them of is, let me see if I can get the right, here we go. So they're being given certain violations under the Davis-Bacon Act, and they're being accused of falsifying payroll records, misclassifying skilled workers as lower paid laborers, and then they left a worker off of the payroll records, and they did not cooperate with investigators. So basically what happened here is somehow the U.S. Department of Labor got wind of a uh, certain violations that may or may not have been committed by Paradigm. There was an investigation that was held, and then they found these things here. They found out that they were falsifying the payroll workers, misclassifying the skilled workers as lower paid laborers, and basically not paying their employees or the workers what they were should have been paying them. And then to make matters worse, when the investigation happened, they did not really cooperate, and it basically forced them to kind of go and um, basically do some further digging in order to make the case, which they did, and this is what they found. So just giving you a little bit of a, let's see here, I've got a little bit of a timeline here that I want to go through. Make sure I've got it right. Oops, finding my right document here. Okay, so yeah, 2017 is when the case was initially um, brought up, and then the administrative law judge, now this was sometime before this year, at some point that judge found that the company had falsified its payroll, underpaid its workers, and misclassified its employees. And the judge at that time ordered them to pay over $14,000 in back wages, and they were also federally disbarred for 3 years. So they were disbarred from being able to bid on federal contracts for 3 years. Now it looks like they did try to appeal that decision. This past January, it went before the Administrative Review Board, and they affirmed the law judge's decision. And so the ruling was upheld at the appellate level, which means they decided not to dissent it. And then the respondents in February filed a request to escalate the case to the Secretary of Labor. And then later on, about 10 days later, it looks like the Department of Labor opposed that request. And they said that it did not meet the criteria of exceptional importance. And then just last month, in March 13th of 2023, was the finalization date. The decision becomes a final agency action. And then there was no further appeal within the Department of Labor. And so that means that the explicit law judge order was upheld on appeal, and that now that the Paradigm Construction has been made to make pay here. So they've been ordered to pay over $14,000 in back wages to 18 workers, and now they are banned from federal contracts for 3 years. So it is completely possible that they may have already done all that. They may have already paid all that because, again, this is a case that goes back 10 years. But they did continue to file appeals, whether that appeal was based on just the disbarment as opposed to paying the workers their back wages. That remains unclear. But bottom line is that they did try to appeal it. The administrative judge upheld it, and it looks like that's going to be the final deal. So when you think about a candidate who is largely interested in the city's finances, wanting to make sure things are being run well, and then you see that their own company is dealing with some issues with their own finances, it does kind of give you pause as to whether or not they're the best qualified candidate for this sort of thing. So, anyway, that is a relatively new piece of information that we got. Decided to go ahead and bring that out as we were getting closer to the polls, and especially in light of everything else that's come out during this campaign about this. So, again, just wanted to make sure that our voters are aware of what's going on, particularly if you live in Ward 5. So, the polls open up at 7 o'clock tomorrow. They'll be open from 7 to 7. If you have not already, go to the OK Voter portal, log in and see a sample ballot, see what things are going to be on the ballot for you, and make sure to go out there and do your duty as a citizen. And yeah, I mean, cast your vote, guys, and your vote will be the determining factor in what happens in this election. So don't forget, there are other issues. We've got 2 other wards that are up for election, and then we also have the Central Tech proposition as well. All of those have been covered now. We've got a story that came out last weekend also on that, and so I highly encourage you guys, go get informed about your candidates, get informed about the propositions, and make the best decision you can for the future of our city. Okay, so I'm going to end it there. Thanks, guys, for tuning into the Time Loop Live. I'll see you again on Wednesday, where we talk about all things happening in the town that we love. Have a great Monday, everybody. Bye-bye.